Welcome to the Kandis Show. I'm Kandis Palmer, and today I had guests Amber and Brandi. They own a yoga studio downtown Central Phoenix called Elevate Yoga and Wellness. And I'm excited to share their journey from the corporate world into entrepreneurship and how fate played a big role. Well, Brandi, Amber, thanks so much for coming on the podcast today. And you guys just inspire me so much with your story. So I wanted to share kind of how you guys came about opening your yoga studio, Elevate Yoga and Wellness, right, in downtown Phoenix. So you guys want to share maybe like how, well, let's back up. Tell our viewers the kind of yoga that you guys practice and provide.
So it's aerial yoga. It's not any of the Cirque du Soleil. It's not any of that crazy stuff that you see. We are very much rooted in yoga. So you take your traditional yoga practice that's on a mat, and then we're taking an aerial silk, and we are using that as a prop to go a little bit deeper into our stretches. You're able to invert, which is amazing. So you can just hang upside down and decompress everything. But yeah, it's basically taking an aerial silk, and it's used as a prop.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so, yeah, now let's get into kind of the story of kind of how you guys even got involved with yoga and then, more importantly, aerial yoga.
Yeah. So I started taking an aerial yoga class probably in 2013. I just happened to randomly find a studio. And I was hooked after my first class. It's pretty much
like crack.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it really was. I had so much fun. It actually got me into taking more yoga classes and trying different kinds of yoga. And then Amber and I met when we worked for our corporate job, and we met there. Long story short, we started talking about, we made a connection from yoga, basically.
Okay.
And said, I was like, well, I used to take this aerial yoga class. I know a guy that will open the studio if he finds teachers. So I'd be willing to go and start teaching, and you come with me. Because I was so new to yoga that I was like, I don't know if I can teach it, because like I didn't have the years of taking a yoga class. So I got training from he was a friend of mine at that point, because this was 2015, I believe, and so he took some time. He trained me. I got really comfortable. She was there as well.
And she has a little bit more background in yoga, correct?
Yes, which I should back up and say that's why I was so comfortable with. I was like, I need your yoga experience to help me. I have the aerial experience. She had the yoga experience. So it was just like a perfect little connection. And so we started teaching over there at that studio. And he had to move. Because the current business he was working on, he owned a business, was taking him to California. So he was moving to California. And so we were like, we really got passionate about being there and about teaching. And it began as like a hobby. Like we were just having fun. We wanted to do it for ourselves. And when he moved, he said, if you want to keep doing it, and if you find a place, I'll give you all of the rigging, all the silks and the stuff to do it. So we're like, okay, we'll 100% do it.
And so then you started to find a location.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It all kind of just landed in our lap. We're like, what do we do? We have to go find a place.
Yeah.
Like, we have to keep this going. I mean,
not like the simple solution, like, let me just see if anybody else teaches aerial yoga in town.
No, we're like
that would have been the easy.
It was like that opportunity. We had to seize it. We had to go with it. And so that's what we did. And we just set out and started trekking around downtown Phoenix for quite a few weeks. Just kind of walking around, figuring out like, hey, like, what are we doing? Like, let's find a place. And so started wandering in and out of different places that we thought might be able to work. And
we landed on a
spot right on Roosevelt Row in at the Monmarket, actually. wandered in there and looked around and we're like, this place would be perfect.
It's amazing.
That's so amazing.
I mean, aside from it being like the perfect place for rigging because the ceilings are high, I mean, just the culture and the community and the
art,
vibes, everything going
Oh
on in
gosh,
that building, it just created a space for us to really bring what we wanted to fruition. I mean, it was just the perfect space for this to be born, and connected with the owner and the admin of the building and kind of worked it out and said, hey, let's do this.
And you guys were like a pop-up studio.
We were pop-up,
Which is kind of a cool concept, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was fun that they were able to be so collaborative with
Oh
you
my
guys
gosh.
and, you
Yeah.
know, have the space, you know, be for multi-use. Like, I think that's amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah, they
were-
were super excited to have
Yeah.
us there and to bring something like that into the space. So we popped up evenings and weekends. That was the only time we were doing classes, and I think we got up to about 10 classes per week at a certain point. We started with 2.
Yeah.
Very quickly, by like the end of the year, realized that people were loving this and we needed to put more classes on the schedule. So we made it up to about 10 classes per week by the end of the year, and it was at that point we looked at each other and we said, so there's more to this than just, hey, let's pop up and do some yoga classes. And so it was really at that point we said, you know what, we need to, if we put our minds to this, like we can quit our corporate jobs, the jobs that, yes, it pays the bills, you know, but we go to it every day. What does it mean? It doesn't mean anything at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So we put our minds to it. And
Yeah, like we talked the other day.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes you like, you know, go through the monotony of life and you're like, I'm doing this stuff. I'm like, why am I doing this? It doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
But then like you get down your journey, you know, how we talked about, and then you like, oh, this stuff is showing back up.
Yep.
So do you find that the things like that you were doing in your corporate job where you were like, this doesn't really matter at the time, has it shown up as business owners now?
Oh, tenfold, I think. It's funny because whenever I talk to people, nearly every week, somebody's like, you went from doing that to this. Like, they don't make the connection. And I don't know that I made the connection right away until we're in this position where all of a sudden you're not just teaching yoga, but you're running a business. And I reflect back on all the years of experience I've got with that. And I know Brandi as well. Oh, absolutely. You know, when you don't think about having to create policies and procedures and do certain things, like, you don't think about that. So I'm grateful for the experiences I know that I had within the corporate sector, because it's totally prepared me for a lot of what we're having to do right now.
Yeah, see, and I've never had that corporate experience. It wasn't me. It's never been me. I could not do it. So props to you girls for doing it.
Yeah.
And then finding like your true passion. And I think that's really kind of why I wanted to share your story so much with my viewers, is that I hope people are inspired. Like maybe they're at a place where they're going to their corporate job every single day and they're miserable.
Yeah.
Or just not completely fulfilled.
Yep.
And so it's just like if we can inspire them to just take steps forward to just explore life and just remain open. And that's what I really liked about your story, is that you guys just were open to an opportunity that sort of fell in your lap. And how often, you know, do people get opportunity that they don't even see?
Yeah, totally. We could have said this is not us. We're not business owners. We're very new to teaching yoga. Like, who are we? Like, we could have done that and just said no, and we'll go back to our corporate job. It was nice to do it while we had the aerial yoga. But we were like, no, I'm gonna keep doing this.
Yeah,
I'm gonna keep going, and I'm gonna not stop.
What do you think really pushed you to keep going? I think that's always an interesting thing with entrepreneurs and you know, business people. Like, why did you keep going? What was it?
I mean, for me, I've done a lot of things over the course of my career. I mean, everything from, you know, retail sales to managing those retail sales to back office corporate, you know, jobs dealing with the government and audits. Like, I mean, just I had done a lot. None of it really... I didn't spark over any of it. Nothing I really was like, oh, I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited to go to work and deal with these fire drills and audits and this, that. None of that excited me. And I think when this kind of landed in our lap, there's just something that just lit up inside of me that was like, I got excited. Every
take
single
that
time, every time we talked about it, anytime we were teaching, it didn't matter. Like, just the passion was just there. And so I kind of just, for me, it was like, this is it. Like, we have to do this.
Yeah.
Is that the same case for you, Brandi?
Yes. That and what I got out of doing aerial yoga for me personally, what it's done for me, and then also seeing what it did for the students that were coming during that time when we were there teaching, and the benefits that they were seeing, and how much better they were feeling in their lives. Like, we
want to share
like keep it going
a little deeper on that, just for instance?
Yeah. Well, for example, this is actually one of our more current students. Just the other day after class one day, there was a group of us just having a conversation, and she was just kind of overhearing what we were saying, and she goes, I have to tell you, she goes, you guys don't know this, but you're helping me with my PTSD. And every time I even still say that to this day, like, I get a little bit of goosebumps. I kind of get a little teary-eyed because I'm like,
I feel it.
Yeah, like, to know that you are impacting somebody that much, like, how would you want to stop? How could you take a defeat?
You have a responsibility now.
Yeah, knowing that that's just one person.
Yeah.
Imagine the millions of other people that
aren't saying anything.
The impact you're having on their lives.
And I think we're a little over 2 years into this, and we've got dozens of stories just like that. And it never ceases to amaze me when somebody will come up to us and say, you've really done XYZ for me. You could pick a number of things.
Yeah,
and it's like,
so many.
Wow. Like, to know that what you're doing, what you've chosen as a career, as a profession, is impacting somebody else in that manner. Like, it just, why stop? Like,
it's touching. It's
yeah,
amazing.
it totally is.
Yeah, it really, really is.
Yeah.
So fast forward, you guys couldn't just stop at 10 classes. So you outgrew the space, more or less, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And then you went on a journey to find your own space.
Yes. Yep, we did.
Yeah. I would say up till now, that was, I don't know if hardest challenge wasn't necessarily hard, but like we really had to put a lot of energy, a lot of focus, a lot of determination into committing to finding our own space. We very well could have said, you know what, it's just not meant to be. We're going to just stay at the Monarchid. We're just going to stay to our 10 classes a week, and we're going to be maxed out, but maybe that's just all that is there for us.
Well, but mind you guys were still working your corporate jobs.
We were still, yes. So yeah, and accept our fate in corporate America. But yeah, I think that was not not
in the cards.
Yeah. Not in the cards at all. Yeah.
So when you started looking for this second space, were you very clear, like, okay, this second space is going to allow me, or allow us to quit our corporate jobs?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, we definitely had to, you have to sit down, you got to put the business plan together, you got to do all that stuff, all those ideas and things and everything that's inside of your heads that we talk about every single day. We had to sit down, we had to come up with a plan, and I mean, it was a matter of time before we realized, like, let's do this, like, this is going to work. And so then that's when we set out, and we knew exactly what we needed, and we found it.
When you walked in the space, we were like, this is it.
Oh my gosh.
Kind of like immediate, where like you just start picturing yourself in the space. You start picturing classes there. You just,
Yeah.
Very cool. So now, how long have you guys been in the space?
5 months at this point. Five or 6 months. We're going on 5 or 6 months in the space that we're in.
I think mid-December will be month 6.
And tell us the address, cross streets, how people can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we stayed right in the core of downtown where we started. So we're still in Roosevelt Row, just a couple of blocks up from the Mount Orchid, on the corner of 3rd Avenue and Roosevelt. So right behind where Peanut Jungle is currently at, or Lola Coffee, that same little complex. Our entrance is right off of 3rd Avenue.
And one of our favorite wine bars.
Oh, yes, let's not forget Rotten Grapes.
Let's not, girls.
Because
the important stuff.
What goes better with yoga than wine?
Yes.
It's like yoga. It's justification. That's all we
balance.
need.
Balance. We are all about balance in life.
Well,
and
see?
Absolutely.
Balance.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so proud of you girls for, just pushing forward and keep moving. I'm curious to know, like, who's been some of the biggest influences for you guys, either in business or your personal life?
She's influenced me. Ever since
Who,
we
me?
met, ever since we met in corporate America, has always been somebody that I've and it's funny because like we started out working on the same floor, but we were on different teams and different sides of the floor too. And I think I remember actually when, because you started, I think, shortly after I did. And so I remember there's that new team over there. And then I watched her grow to the point where she was a manager and then I think AVP level. But about around this time, actually, I think you actually hired me. Well, I kind of got moved. She basically hired me onto her team. So like,
Nice.
yeah. So I probably have never said this to you. So
That's why I'm like,
I like it.
but yeah. She, like I've always found her hard work and dedication in corporate America and really, making something of herself very influential, which made it easy for me to want to go into business with her for sure.
Well,
So,
I think I
yeah.
love the saying, like, how you act in here is how you act out there.
Yeah.
So how she was acting in corporate America was
Yeah.
really her, and you found it.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Well, like 100%.
oh, thanks. I never knew any of that.
Look at that. Look at that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I know. And then we had kind of touched on, like, business partners and how, you guys shared with me that, a lot of people try to warn you girls about partnerships
Yeah.
and how's it going. And,
Yeah.
are you guys, able to communicate and not, bicker? And I think it's really amazing that you guys have a solid relationship.
Yeah, we really do.
We totally do.
Yeah. I think we both have the same values and have the same goal, the same end goal, and that's what helps keeping us like both in line, so to
for
speak,
sure.
and knowing that like there's nothing, granted, we are 2 years in. I know there's going to be people that are going to be like, you're still in like
You're
that.
still the honeymoon
the
phase.
honeymoon phase. Yeah, totally. But I think if I commit to myself to making it work, she commits to herself to making it work, we're going to make it work. It's kind of like a marriage, I suppose.
Yeah, and
but it has to be both sides. Like,
absolutely. And I think that's back, 2.5 years ago now when this all first kind of came to fruition. It was like, I've got your back, right? You got mine. Like basically we're married to each other at this point.
Yeah.
Like this is what we're getting into. And so I don't know, we've just always had that mutual respect, and we do have a lot of the same perspectives, which is super helpful. But although we share the same perspectives and the same visions, what's really nice is we are kind of like that yin and yang.
yes.
If I'm seeing something one way and there's just something missing and I don't know what it is, we can get on the phone, we can sit down and have a conversation, and then she brings this other half of this perspective and it's like, oh yeah. So like it's those moments where it's like it gets you excited because we do complement each other so well from that perspective.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
two minds are really better than one.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when I
Yeah.
mean like
Right?
we can finish each other's sentences and
Oh, boy.
thoughts, it's like on a different level.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's on a different level.
It really is. Like we'll be texting and one of us will send like a text and be like, screenshot, I was literally typing that right now.
And that happens often.
That happens, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I don't want to say every day, but it happens
Almost.
a lot.
That's very fun.
Yeah.
So is aerial yoga, do you guys have like men that take the class, or like is it primarily women? Like I think it's so fascinating. I walked by with a male.
Yeah.
He was like, wait, what? I was like, oh, those are my friends. And this is aerial yoga. And would you want to do it with me? And he was like, yeah, sure. I mean, so I'm just kind of curious, do other guys come?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I definitely, it's the ratios are probably fairly similar to a traditional fitness class or yoga
class.
studio, but absolutely. I mean, we've got a handful of men that are members, and they love it. I mean, it's their thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
We just had a class at noon and we actually had two males in the class.
Nice.
So like,
I love that.
yeah.
Because it's probably either they're not as flexible as women, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
So generally speaking, yeah.
So I think it would probably almost be better for them
Yeah.
to practice in the sling versus just like a traditional mat practice.
Yeah, because I definitely, although I did yoga for years and years and years and years, I've lost count at this point. I'm probably anywhere between 12 and 15 years at this point. There are things that, as somebody who's practiced yoga on my mat for years, I just accepted that I'm never going to go any further than where I'm at, and that's okay. I would look around the room, and there's all these people doing these crazy things, and I'm like, that's okay. That's not me. I'm never going to be there. And so just using my own personal experience, I'll give you an example. I'll never forget this. It was when we were at the Mount Orchid, and I think her and I were just playing around, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I can put my foot on my head. I think I can. And she's like, your foot is like right there. And so we're like getting all excited. And so I'm like, I need help from a friend though. So, because I couldn't quite, I wasn't as open in my shoulders as I needed to be. So she comes over and helps me get my foot, and, super excited. But just using that as an example, male or female, if, anybody who's struggling with that openness or that ability to be flexible, which men typically do struggle a little bit more than women, the aid of that silk, I just always go back to my own story, and is like, it took me from here to here, and very quickly. That probably within a year it took me there. And I definitely see that with a lot of our students, male and female. Sure. It's so inspiring to watch all of them grow. I had one of our regulars, male, in class last night, and I was watching him, and I finally went over and I said, you look like you're getting much more comfortably into that, what we were doing at the time. And he's like, I just cannot tell you how much this has helped me open up in my hip area. I've never been able to find something that helps me release a lot of that tightness that I have there. This has been the first thing that he's found. And so
amazing.
The stories are endless when it comes to that. And men, women, it doesn't matter, but definitely to go back to your original question, men,
that's okay.
They struggle with it.
I've seen in traditional mat practices, they just aren't able to get as deep into the poses. I would notice that. So I would, based on our conversation, I was like, man, this is actually really could be perfect for men. And it's fun.
Yeah, and it's fun.
So much fun.
Yes,
oh my gosh.
And you get to hang upside down and just like really decompress the spine.
Tell me, what do you guys think the most like health benefits are to yoga?
Aside from gaining that flexibility, the strength, there's a lot of confidence building in it as well, which might not be on the top of somebody's list. But for me personally, I used to have really bad migraines. I used to have like 12 a month. And since I started doing them, it's very rare that I get migraines anymore. So
amazing.
Being upside down and just kind of like flipping your body, it's recirculating blood. So when you're upside down, you're not getting oxygenated blood to your brain, which is why you start to feel a little lightheaded and dizzy. But when you come up, it's that rush of like new blood into your brain, that new oxygenated blood. And there's something about that I feel like for me has helped me with the migraines. It helps lower stress. It helps with digestion. A lot of the poses we do kind of put some pressure in certain areas. So it's like getting a deep tissue massage. You start to release toxins in those lymph nodes, which for folks, if it's their first few times, it can be kind of uncomfortable, a little pinchy, but like the more you do it, the more it becomes more comfortable. Like Amber was saying, this particular student that was starting to get more comfortable in it, the more you do it, the more you release those toxins and the more your body just becomes open to that.
And just healthier.
Yeah.
Well, and you share your other part of, if you want to.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, not to put you on the spot. If you would like.
Yeah, I also have scoliosis, upper and lower. It's not super severe, but it's enough that it causes me pain. Pretty much my preteen to adult life. And since I started doing it, I've noticed I don't have the pain anymore. I have a lot more flexibility. I know throughout high school, junior high and high school, I was a cheerleader and I ran track, so I was active. I did not have flexibility, even though I was a cheerleader. Like, I couldn't bend over and touch my toes. Wow. And since I started doing aerial yoga, my flexibility is like a complete 180. Can't put my foot on my head yet.
10 more years.
You're close.
Yeah. But again, like Amber was saying, I'm okay accepting my ability, my flexibility wherever I'm at, but I'm going to continue to work on it at a slow pace and make sure that what I'm doing is safe for my body, because I know I have limitations. I know I have some restrictions. I know I have to make sure I'm opening up in certain areas so I don't hurt myself, being that I have the scoliosis. So
that's pretty awesome. What do you feel like are the major health benefits to yoga?
I mean, I think what I would add on to everything that Brandi said, one of the things that I get feedback from students on a lot is when you are in a traditional yoga class, and I'll be the first to admit, I always struggled staying focused. Like my mind would wander, and that's the total opposite of yoga. Like you're there. The whole point is to
quiet your mind,
focus on what you're doing. And so there would definitely be times where I noticed my mind wandering. It wasn't as easy for me to just bring myself to that moment. And so with aerial yoga, I definitely am that way. I know Brandi is, and I get this feedback from students all of the time. They're like, I can't focus in a regular yoga class. My mind is everywhere. But with aerial yoga, you're having to focus so much on making sure that you're staying balanced, making sure okay, I'm going upside down right now. And when you're upside down, it does just something to your brain where, you have to focus on what's up, what's down, what's left. Or
you
everything kind of becomes
to think about anything else.
Other things, because you are so focused on that moment and making sure you understand left, right. So what it does for your brain, you're thinking more clearly, you're seeing things more clearly. I get that feedback, I think, almost every single day from students that I didn't think about anything else while I was in this class. Because it was so much fun. Yeah. But your concentration and your focus go to a completely different level.
Well, in our society, and the way that we are as humans, we never stop thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, people say, oh, you should meditate, but it's that's hard.
Yeah.
And so it's good that there's something out there that you can, also provides physical activity, stretching and all that, and the quieting the mind piece too, right? We can just release from the outer world and just be.
Yes.
Because we don't do it enough.
We don't. And the only other thing I would add is the silk. While there's lots of props, we've got all the props in the studio. We've got the blankets, the bolsters, you've got all that. The silk gives you a different level of support when you're trying to do these things, whether it's a restorative yoga class and you're on the ground and you're just trying to relax everything to I'm trying to do a handstand and I've never done a handstand before. That silk is there and it's giving you support that if you're doing a handstand, you're not going to go anywhere because that silk is there to help hold you, but understand where your body needs to be in order to do a handstand, or all the way to a restorative class where, I just need that extra added support. That silk is there. I think for me, that's huge in any class that we're in, is just the support that silk gives you. It almost enables you and makes certain things more accessible than just being on your mat without having some of that support.
That's so cool. Yeah. Aerial yoga, it's where it's at. It's fun. It's fun. So what's been, kind of bringing it back to the business piece for you guys, what has been the biggest challenge? Was it getting out of corporate? Was that a big challenge for you guys, or?
I would say just moving into our own space so far, and that's been...
What's been so challenging about that versus the pop-up? I know you guys had kind of said it's very different. And for me, looking at it doesn't look like it'd be that different. Your marketing, your, you know what I mean? Your classes, it just seems like it, it's the same. But who am I? I'm not inside your business.
Yeah. I think just taking that leap of faith of going from a pop-up to this is our own.
This is really real.
This is really real. Yeah. And I don't know if challenging is the right word, but maybe it's that, again, that
scariest.
The scariest. Yeah.
Scariest.
Even though we were it doesn't matter. I'm doing it anyway. I can be afraid all I want, but I'm doing it anyway. Yeah. So it kind of, the fear really didn't creep up enough, obviously, to stop us. But yeah.
And there's been a lot to learn. I don't think we weren't naive to think that, hey, we're going to learn a lot along the way, but I think we've learned more in the last, I would say 4 to 5 months of this little over 2-year journey than we ever have. Oh. In a good way.
Yeah, in a good way. Of course.
In a really good way where it's allowed us to see things a little bit differently, which has allowed us, I think, to help people a little bit differently. But I mean, it's been a huge learning opportunity.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, no, growth isn't always comfortable. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if we're stationary and we never push through fear, never push beyond our limitations, then we don't really grow as people. And the old saying goes, if you're not growing, you're dying.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
I love also that you guys are so collaborative in the community. Tell me like what you guys, your main mission is, the impact you guys really want to leave in the community.
I think for both of us is we've always went into this with the mindset that we are not just another studio. You come and do your practice and you go home. We very much wanted to not only be a part of the community and the other businesses, the residents around us that we're operating within, but we wanted to create a sense of community. So it doesn't matter who you are, what walk of life you come from, if you've done yoga your entire life or you've never even heard of yoga. If you walk into our studio, you're going to be welcomed. You're going to just feel that energy and that sense of community. And so that was always really important to us when we were building that. And I would like to think that that's definitely what we've been accomplishing.
Yep.
All the way from partnering with other local small businesses.
Yeah.
There's always power in that. So we're blessed to have had, I think, some really great partners from day one. I mean, even just being physically located in the Monorchid. I mean, there are so many other little businesses within that building that, I mean, from day one embraced us with open arms. I mean, it was like a little family. So we had that sense of culture and community that we wanted from day one.
Yeah.
So, and that's very much carried over to where we're at now.
And is that why you guys kind of specifically set out to start your business in Central Phoenix? Or was that by design?
Well, so, I mean, Central Phoenix for both of us has been home for a very long time. So we very much have roots here, living and working here. So, and being from a very, very, very small cow town, middle of the Midwest, I mean, like, I think population's a couple hundred people, to tell you how small it is. And I know Brandi's from a really small, town as well. When you think about that type of community, Sweet Home Alabama, like you go back, everybody knows everybody. Yeah. I mean, like it is
Can't
small
get away.
town.
Yeah.
And I think the one thing about Central Phoenix and really the downtown Phoenix area for me has been that it has that feeling. It doesn't matter where you go, you're likely running into the same people.
Yep.
It's the same. It's just that community vibe is there. And I think for me, I've loved that because it reminds me of home. It reminds me of what I grew up with. And
Even though it's
it's the fifth largest city in the
metropolis,
country.
like,
It does
high rises and
and it
completely
doesn't
different.
feel like that.
Yeah, people are wonderful, and there is a big sense of community.
For
And
sure.
That's why I love Central Phoenix too.
Yeah.
So I share that love with you guys.
Yeah.
That's fun. So now you guys have quit your corporate job. You got the studio up and running, and then you guys offer other things besides just aerial yoga.
Yep.
We do.
The
Lots of
wellness part of your name, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
What other things can people expect to find?
Right now we have a Reiki practitioner, so she offers Reiki. We partner with an acupuncturist, and so we'll do yoga and acupuncture classes.
Oh, that's fun.
We'll also bring in our Reiki practitioner, and she does yoga and Reiki.
We've been doing a lot of sound healing events lately,
sound healing,
which
yes.
Anybody who's familiar with sound healing is powerful alone. But then you get up into the silk and you're just floating and while you're resting and while that sound healing is going on. I mean, those have been absolutely fabulous events. So we've got a local
Sound
gal
healer.
that brings all of her,
Her bowls,
gongs. I mean, she's got the whole gamut, and she comes in and she's just wonderful and creates just a completely different experience for people there.
Ooh, I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yeah.
Being that you're in the silk while you're in taking the class, she's able to take this drum and go underneath you, which is usually if you're doing a sound healing, you're laying down and there is not an underneath, basically.
Okay.
So that it actually is a little more powerful for the person that's in the silk to receive that vibration from the drum. Usually in the sacral chakra is where they're feeling it. Yeah. So it's amazing.
Sign me up.
I know, right?
Yeah, I want
It's so
to do
amazing.
that. Yeah. Like in closing, like what is like one piece of advice or, kind of like a motto that maybe you each individually live your lives by that you would love to share with our viewers? Like either one, like one last piece of something.
And I know what both of us are probably going to say is going to sound so cliche.
Probably.
But honestly, like, just let happen what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Everything is meant to be. And the more open you are to all of that, I think the blinders kind of come off, because I think you said it, where sometimes you're presented with these opportunities in life and you've got these blinders up because you think you get these myopic viewpoints where you just know what you know and you don't want to look outside of that,
Yeah.
whether it's intentional or not. But when you just try to live a life where you're just open to whatever hits your path and comes in front of you, I mean, wonderful things can happen, and don't be afraid to take that risk. I mean, I think since I've kind of I don't know, the older I've gotten, I very much, when I was in my 20s, was very like, oh my gosh, I was way more uptight than I am now.
Right.
And then you hit your 30s and, and I've got a lot more life to live. But, you kind of get like, we're like, what's the big deal? Like,
Yeah.
things are not really that serious. I mean, just kind of go with the flow, let it happen, and be open to it.
Well, I think the more that you're open to even something that typically may be viewed as painful, right? If you could just go like, there's something here, why I'm here, or like, what's the lesson? What could I get from this? And how could I become better as a result, instead of like hanging on to the pain of it, and then just like trusting in the process. Like, this is just part of my journey.
Yeah.
Part of my path. Let me embrace it and move through it.
Yeah.
Instead of just be stuck in it.
Yeah. Trust yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing. And I want to say, I don't want to say like either one of us didn't have that starting this, but it became more apparent as we did go through that. Trust yourself. We are going to have failures, but we aren't going to view them as failures. We're going to view them as opportunities that we can learn from and move on. And if that opportunity presents itself in the future, we know how to handle things a little differently. Like that's
part of growth.
Part
right?
of growth, yeah. In life in general, for sure. But I think that's manifested itself a lot more going through this process, starting, getting our own space and really stepping away from that comfort of a corporate job and all that, all that comfy stuff that deep down you just, there's nothing gratifying about it. So like knowing that, if I step away from this, I'm going to be fine.
Yeah. You could always go back.
I can always go back. I know what to do if something happens. I think that's and just trusting yourself and always telling yourself that it's going to be fine.
It is. Everything always works out, right?
Everything always works out. And I mean, I've learned that. I know you've learned that. I mean,
that's the beautiful
why
thing of
not?
life. Just put a smile on and
just keep trucking.
Keep going. Well, I'm so proud of you guys, and I'm looking forward to hosting some of my clients for a class with you guys.
Yes.
I think that will be wonderful, and just maintaining our relationship and working through the community. It's so exciting. So I'm very inspired by you girls.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah. We're so happy to be here with you, and thank you for inviting us.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on the podcast. I know people enjoy it, so. Thanks for listening to the Kandis Show today. I hope this episode left you feeling very inspired to live the life you are truly meant to live. If you feel inspired, please subscribe and definitely share it with a friend.